George Washington, born in Virginia in 1732, emerged as the foremost leader of the American Revolution and became the first president of the United States. Trained as a surveyor and officer, he gained military experience during the French and Indian War before rising to prominence as commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. Washington's leadership was crucial in securing independence from Britain, particularly at Valley Forge and Yorktown, where perseverance and strategic alliances brought victory. After the war, he presided over the Constitutional Convention, helping to establish the framework of the U.S. government. As president from 1789 to 1797, he set lasting precedents, including the two-term tradition and the peaceful transfer of power. Revered as the father of his country, Washington embodied ideals of unity and civic virtue. His revolutionary role cemented him as a global symbol of independence. Karl Marx, born in Trier, Germany in 1818, was a philosopher, economist, and revolutionary thinker whose ideas transformed global politics. Educated in law and philosophy, he became deeply critical of capitalism, arguing it exploited workers and entrenched inequality. Collaborating with Friedrich Engels, Marx published the Communist Manifesto in 1848, calling for the overthrow of capitalist systems and the establishment of a classless communist society. His later work, Das Kapital, provided a detailed critique of political economy, analyzing labor, capital, and exploitation. Though he spent much of his life in exile and poverty, Marx's theories inspired socialist and communist movements worldwide, shaping revolutions in Russia, China, and beyond. Critics view his ideas as utopian or dangerous, citing authoritarian regimes that claimed his legacy. Nonetheless, Marx remains one of history's most influential revolutionaries, whose vision continues to spark debate about economics, justice, and power. Mao Zedong, born in Hunan Province, China, in 1893, was the revolutionary leader who founded the People's Republic of China in 1949. A founding member of the Chinese Communist Party, Mao rose to prominence through his role in organizing peasant uprisings and guiding the Red Army during the Long March of the 1930s, which cemented his authority. He successfully led the communists to victory in the Chinese Civil War, overthrowing Chiang Kai-shek's nationalist government. As China's leader, Mao launched sweeping reforms, including land redistribution and campaigns to industrialize the nation. However, policies such as the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution caused widespread famine, persecution, and political chaos, resulting in millions of deaths. Despite this, Mao is revered by many as the father of modern China, while critics see him as a symbol of authoritarianism and human suffering. His legacy remains deeply contested worldwide. Vladimir Lenin, born in Simbirsk, Russia in 1870, became the architect of the Bolshevik Revolution and the founder of the Soviet state. Influenced by Karl Marx, Lenin devoted his life to revolutionary politics after his brother was executed for plotting against the Tsar. As leader of the Bolshevik faction, he argued for a disciplined vanguard party to guide the working class towards socialism. In 1917, amid World War I and domestic unrest, Lenin returned from exile and led the October Revolution, overthrowing the provisional government. His government withdrew Russia from the war, redistributed land, and nationalized industry, laying the foundation for a communist system. During the Russian Civil War, Lenin employed harsh measures, including the Red Terror, to secure Bolshevik power. Though his health declined after 1922, Lenin's theories and actions shaped 20th century communism, inspiring revolutions worldwide while leaving a controversial legacy of both liberation and repression. Martin Luther, born in Eisleben, Germany in 1483, became the catalyst of the Protestant Reformation and one of history's most transformative revolutionaries. Originally a monk and theologian, Luther grew disillusioned with the Catholic Church's practices, particularly the sale of indulgences. In 1517, he famously nailed his 95 Theses to a church door in Wittenberg, challenging church corruption and asserting that salvation came through faith alone, not through clerical mediation. His writings spread quickly thanks to the printing press, sparking religious upheaval across Europe. Luther's defiance led to his excommunication, but he gained powerful support from German princes, enabling Protestantism to flourish. Beyond theology, his work reshaped politics, education, and culture, empowering individuals to question authority and read scripture independently. Luther's revolutionary impact shattered Catholic dominance and laid the foundation for religious pluralism and modern Western Christianity. Fidel Castro, born in Biran, Cuba, in 1926, became one of the most influential and controversial revolutionaries of the 20th century. Educated as a lawyer, Castro grew disillusioned with corruption and U.S. influence in Cuba under Fulgencio Batista's dictatorship. In 1953, he led the failed Moncada barracks attack, but persisted in organizing opposition. After exile in Mexico, he returned with a small guerrilla force, including Che Guevara, launching the Cuban Revolution from the Sierra Maestra Mountains. By 1959, Castro's rebels successfully ousted Batista, and he assumed power as prime minister. Castro nationalized industries, redistributed land, and forged close ties with the Soviet Union, making Cuba a key player in the Cold War, especially during the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. While admired for expanding education and healthcare, he was criticized for authoritarian rule, censorship, and human rights abuses. Castro's revolutionary leadership defined Cuba's trajectory for decades and inspired global anti-imperialist movements. Mahatma Gandhi, born Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi in Porbandar, India, in 1869, became the foremost leader of India's independence movement and a pioneer of non-violent resistance. Trained as a lawyer in London, he first gained prominence in South Africa, where he opposed racial discrimination through peaceful protest. Returning to India, Gandhi developed Satyagraha, or Truth Force, a philosophy of non-violent civil disobedience aimed at resisting colonial rule. He led nationwide campaigns against unjust laws, economic exploitation, and the British salt tax, inspiring millions through marches, boycotts, and strikes. Gandhi's commitment to nonviolence influenced global movements for justice, including the U.S. civil rights struggle. Despite arrests and criticism from both British authorities and radical nationalists, he remained steadfast in his ideals. Tragically assassinated in 1948, Gandhi is remembered as a revolutionary whose moral and political vision reshaped the 20th century, making him a symbol of peace and human dignity. Susan B. Anthony, born in 1820 in Adams, Massachusetts, was a pioneering revolutionary for women's rights and social reform. Raised in a Quaker family that valued equality, she became a teacher before dedicating her life to activism. Initially involved in the abolitionist movement, Anthony soon turned her focus to women's suffrage, recognizing the denial of voting rights as a central injustice. In 1851, she met Elizabeth Cady Stanton, forming a lifelong partnership that advanced the women's rights movement. Together, they organized conventions, published feminist writings, and campaigned tirelessly for political equality. Anthony also advocated for labor rights, education reform, and temperance. In 1872, she was arrested for illegally voting, symbolizing her defiance of discriminatory laws. Though she did not live to see the 19th Amendment passed in 1920, her tireless efforts helped secure women's suffrage in the U.S., cementing her legacy as a revolutionary for equality. Nelson Mandela, born in 1918 in the rural village of Mvezo, South Africa, became one of the most celebrated revolutionaries and statesmen of the 20th century. Trained as a lawyer, he joined the African National Congress, ANC, and led resistance against South Africa's apartheid system of racial segregation. Initially advocating peaceful protest, Mandela later co-founded Umkhonto we Sizwe, the ANC's armed wing, after government repression intensified. Arrested in 1962, he spent 27 years in prison, becoming a global symbol of resistance to oppression. Released in 1990, Mandela worked with President F.W. de Klerk to negotiate a peaceful transition to multiracial democracy. In 1994, he became South Africa's first black president, emphasizing reconciliation and nation-building over retribution. While criticized by some radicals for compromises, Mandela's commitment to justice and forgiveness cemented his legacy as a revolutionary leader of moral courage and transformative change. Maximilien Robespierre, born in Arras, France, in 1758, became one of the most prominent and controversial leaders of the French Revolution. A lawyer by training, he rose to influence as a member of the Jacobin Club, championing equality, democracy, and the rights of common citizens. Nicknamed the Incorruptible for his stern moral convictions, Robespierre played a leading role in the Committee of Public Safety, which governed France during the Revolution's most turbulent years. He was a driving force behind the abolition of monarchy and the execution of King Louis XVI, believing that radical measures were necessary to defend the Republic. However, his support for the Reign of Terror, marked by mass executions of perceived enemies, made him both feared and despised. In 1794, he was overthrown and executed. Despite his downfall, Robespierre remains a symbol of revolutionary zeal, embodying both the ideals and dangers of radical transformation.